Hi, welcome to the Whitey White Guy Show. I'm Whitey, and today I'm going to explain the band Primus a little bit to my buddy Sacha from over at the YouTube channel Sexy Monkey. Sacha recently was recommended a couple Primus songs, and hold on, let me frame this a little bit better. There we go. There's a mess. I see it too. But somebody recommended a couple Primus songs to Sacha to review for his channel, which he did. And one was Mr. Crinkle, and the other one was My Name is Mud. And Primus is known, as Sacha put it, he says, this is weird for the sake of being weird. And I wrote, that sums up Primus perfectly. This is not they tried to be something else and they failed and landed on weird. That's the purpose. That's the intent. And it's not only Primus, it was kind of a popular theme in the 80s and the 90s on MTV. There were plenty of music videos and plenty of bands doing music videos who the theme was the weirder the better. That was just kind of the thing going on. Primus was like the epitome of weird for weird's sake. And I'm blanking on a dude's name right now. But the Primus is not, but the My Name is Mud and Mr. Crinkle are on the farther extreme of bizarre, even not only in song and as well as music video, but even for Primus, those are their kind of two pretty out there things for them. I suggested one known as Big Brown Beaver, which is more of a pop song ish with a country twist. It's more of a traditional song, and is closer to just like a song. Primus doesn't do that, which I'll get to in a second, but there's also other songs. There's a number of songs and videos that Primus has done that is a little closer on the normal spectrum. Primus doesn't do normal. So understand me. There's Primus at its most bizarre, and then there's a little bit over here. So, as happenstance, perhaps, possibly, or this was intentional, Sacha did get the two weirdest songs they've done, or two weirder songs and videos with. There is a little bit more traditional music that they've done. They've done a spectrum of things. But the thing about Primus is, it's not a band in a traditional sense where the strength is the songwriting and the vocals. It's bass heavy. God, how am I forgetting Les Claypool? Les Claypool is the lead singer and bassist for Primus, and they've had a number of different guitar players and drummers come through. And Les Claypool is like just a phenom at bass. It's like the way few people can do. And so, unlike most songs where, of course, everything is centered on vocals and guitars and your rhythm section just covers the beat, bass is brought to the forefront. But the guitars are really good, and the drumming is always really tight and crisp. It's always very dynamic. So, the lyrics and the vocals and the song itself serve the purpose of the instruments. Whereas usually it's the other way around. Usually the instruments are there for the sake of the song and the vocals. Here the song and the vocals are the afterthought. The structure of the song and, verse, chorus, verse, and then the vocals, you just have to have something there. The point is what's going on with bass, guitar, and drums. It's the instrument. So here's a chorus that Les Claypool just pulled some shit out of a hat, threw it at the wall so that you can get to the instruments. So that fucking guitar solo, which is amazing, the tightness in the drums and the dynamic and the unusual riffs, and the bass, of course, that's the point of the song. That is the point of Primus. The vocals are there just because somebody has to say something. To a large degree. There's a few songs that are exceptions to that, but Les Claypool isn't going to go out there and say I'm the greatest vocalist that ever happened. There's vocals on those tracks because you got to kind of have something there. And there's verse, chorus, verse, hook, verse, chorus, hook, birth, chorus, hook, because you have to have something there. But the point is to get you to the dynamic in the bass and the dynamic in the guitars. And then when you're doing that, who gives a fuck about the video? So in Mr. Crinkle, Les Claypool set the bass down and pulled out a cello and was playing some cello. Um, so if you're like me, I play drums. As soon as I can get a drum kit, I'll afford one. If you'd like to throw some money at me on PayPal or Patreon, help me get a drum kit again. I play some drums. I played a little bass before. I'm not a connoisseur. I understand guitar. So in my mind's eye, I can see what somebody's doing on drums, and I go, God damn, that's a really interesting fill. And one of the guys' name was just Brain. I don't remember his real name. One of the drummers back in the day, he was a pseudo Mexican. But when you know drums and you hear what he's doing, and you hear him coming over from the hi hat over to the floor tom and then back over to the crash, and you're going, that's a really quick kablams. That's a nice move. So in my mind's eye, I can see that drummer playing drums and go, that's tight. That's really clever what he's doing there. And it's a band where it's very much like Queens of the Stone Age. It's not just what you're playing, it's that here was the obvious choice and you went this way. Sorry, here was the obvious choice and you went this way. So the obvious thing to do would be, and then you came over here and did this instead. And if you're a drummer, you're going, that's really clever. And that wasn't easy to pull that move off. That's a really dynamic drum performance. Same goes for bass, same goes for guitar. So if you've never picked up a drum, if you've never played drums before, you don't even know what the pieces are called. That kind of stuff was going to fly over your head, and that's not a criticism or anything like that. But when you play drums, you're going, that's sharp, man. That kid, and it's not just throwing in a lot of fills. It's putting in those beats in time. So you're in a time signature 4/4/4/7, and when you're over at the hi hat, and when you come over to your fill to your ride, and then you threw in a couple floor times before you came over to your ride, and you're going, that was snazzy. I like the way he did that. That's when you're a big Primus fan. So if you play bass or you're familiar with bass and you're used to do 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 do, you're like, ah. Everybody's cute girlfriend can do that. Oh my god! And then you hear, you're like, that's my guy, and that's Les Claypool. It's like and so he's got to say something, but it's not. You didn't take the easy, fun, happy pop song. You played the difficult piece and you put it in there within your time signature and that in a way that's very difficult and complicated that another person wouldn't have done that. So if you listen to Queens of the Stone Age, there's a lot of stuff like that too, where it's like the easy thing would have been, it's hard to explain, but do a change right here that is traditional, very simple, and then you set it off 2 beats in a very unconventional manner. And as a musician, you're going, that was clever. I wouldn't have thought of that. So it's the stuff that Justin Bieber would have never came up with this. Hanson would have never came up with this. Stupid pop band, fill in the blank, would have never came up with this. This took skill. And so you're not just hearing what's being played, you're hearing with the choice that wasn't made and going, I'm glad they went one deeper. They worked really hard to get to that dynamic. But if you're not familiar with music, if you didn't, and I don't know if Sacha is or not in terms of, I can't really read sheet music. Give me some time, I could get back into that. Back in the day, half notes, quarter notes, all that stuff. Been a while. But I'm not going to sit here, I saw Whiplash. But that's kind of thing. It's like jazz. You went with the unconventional fill here, and it was technically difficult to do that. It took discipline to do this, pull this move. So that's what Primus is. It's this isn't catchy pop music. This is for people who are aficionados and connoisseur and go, I really like what he did with the bass on that. And so that's Primus. So it's very unconventional music. So if it's not for you, there's not a Primus fan alive who's going to be offended because we're going to be like, yeah, we know we're weird, and that's why we like Primus. because Primus is, it's the collection of weirdos. That's kind of what Nirvana and Pearl Jam, the core fans, we're the outcasts and the bizarrities. That's why we like Primus. So when people's like, well, it's not my cup of tea, I'm like, yeah, I know, and that's why it is my cup of tea. But if it's not for you, Sacha, and Sacha, you're Sacha. How can anybody be mad at you? So when you keep apologizing, I appreciate it, but that's what makes you you. So you never have to apologize to us. So, but that's in a nutshell. That's Primus. You did get My Name Is Mud and Mr. Crinkle are two of the more wacky out there songs, even on the Primus spectrum. So there are some more conventional songs that you might enjoy that I can recommend. There aren't a lot. it isn't. It isn't a lot. There's a lot of weird and a very short list of comparatively normal songs. But that's that in a nutshell. That's Primus. So if you've never listened to Primus, Primus, go check it out. But just understand, you're in for a ride, my guy. If you're like, I was a big Hanson fan back in the '90s, don't bother with Primus. If you're like, Miley Cyrus is great, I was a believer, this isn't for you. If you're like, Metallica's taking it too easy, I need something with more edge, that's Primus. It's got a lot of different influences, but it's more in the punk rock spectrum than pop. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on Primus. Check it out or don't. But Sacha, we love you always, and you never have to apologize. So I'll say I have to apologize because I haven't been doing enough videos. I'm working on it now, but I also need to work on this, and I need to clean all this and my car, and I get a haircut. But they were like, we're not taking walk-ins. I'm a fucking fuck. So my bad. I'll see you guys on the next video. Cheers.